I have a lot of information I'm going to be sharing with you right now. And the good news is if I cover too much and too many details and you miss something, don't worry, it's going to be on our website, livingnaturallytoday.com on Monday. So you can see the previous presentation and this one, any part that you'd like to see again, livingnaturallytoday.com. My COVID experience, probably the Delta variant, which came from India in March of 2021, as you probably know, was twice as contagious as COVID-19. And some suggest that it's even more severe. I'm a health educator. My training has focused me on prevention, the first line of defense. So I'll be emphasizing that tonight. So before I tell you how COVID hit me, I want to share with you what I did in advance, realizing at nearly 80 years old, if I got COVID, I would be at higher risk of hospitalization, even death. On the good side, I'm not diabetic, I'm not overweight, I don't have high blood pressure, and I have a lot of experience doing hydrotherapy. We'll explain more about that as we progress. I can't stress enough the importance of the first line of defense for COVID-19 in any variant. It's advanced preparation. You've heard that saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Well, our research, as we were thinking about the best way to advise people to be protected, revealed that there's certain nutraceutical bundles that are very protective, or at least helpful to minimize COVID-19. What is a nutraceutical bundle? Well, basically, it's pretty simple. It's natural foods such as fruits, whole grains, cereals, vegetables that are high in antioxidants, and certain dietary supplements and vitamins and minerals. The 5 nutraceuticals that we have found to be the most effective, and we use as a foundation for our own protection, are the following: vitamin D3. When it's in your bloodstream in advance, it is the most protective. But the problem is 50 to 70% of Americans are low in vitamin D. Those with blood levels who get sick of vitamin D levels of 45 to 50 nanograms per milliliter have the lowest rate of COVID infections. So it makes a difference. How much do I take? I take 5,000 international units every day, most of the year. In the summertime, because if I'm out in the sunshine a lot, I'll probably cut that in half. Here's an interesting study, though, by the National Institutes of Health. They reported on a study of 600 more patients, and they found that there were no COVID-19 hospital deaths if the serum concentration of their vitamin D, that was measured by 25 hydroxyvitamin D, 41 nanograms per milliliter if the patients were younger than 80. So that's right up there in age. So remember we said a moment ago, ideally 45 to 50 nanograms. Well, you say, I'm not familiar with nanograms and so forth. It doesn't really matter. When I go to my doctor and they do lab work, I say to them, I want a printed copy. And anybody can go back and read numbers. So you look for your vitamin D. Now I know for a long time, mine stayed around 30. And my physician said, hey, that's good. You just don't want it down to 20. But this research and others have said really the range that protects the most people from hospitalization when COVID comes is up in the area of 45 to 50. Okay? So I like to use a combination for vitamin D that has vitamin K with it also. The two together are synergistic. K helps ensure that the calcium transported by the vitamin D is absorbed in your bones. Now, in a book that we're going to recommend, or online, you can see this at the Living Naturally Today, a book that we prepared. You can download the PDF version. These are all explained where you can buy them, Amazon or whatever. And the combinations that are available. So we'll let that, just so you have an idea. It's available. Next, we take NAC. NAC's easily available. It's the N-acetylcysteine, and it disrupts the inflammatory pathways used by COVID-19. I take 600 milligrams a day, or some take as much as 1,200. Next is zinc. Zinc helps prevent the pathogens from entering the respiratory tissues and the barriers. Typically, I take the 22 milligrams of zinc, but when I got sick, I bumped that up to 50. Next one is quercetin. It's a powerful antioxidant that works in conjunction with zinc to block the viral replications. And we take usually 500 milligrams a day, but during COVID, I made it 1,000. Now, of course, you probably wondered about vitamin C. You knew that would be on the list. It improves our immune response. Typically, 1,000 milligrams is what I would take, but during COVID, I bumped that up also to 2,000. Now, let me just pause here for a moment. It's not that I did all of this from 0 to a higher level. I had normally had the levels I talked about of these essential vitamins and minerals all along. So I had, what we know today is that individuals who have high levels of vitamin D, levels of C, and so forth that we've been talking about, if they get COVID, they're much less likely to need hospitalization or a ventilator down the line. So this is about prevention. Oh, one other thing I want to mention. In recently, I've learned some very interesting study about iodine. Iodine is very effective as an antiseptic solution in low concentrations, like from 1% to 5%. And it's been shown to be effective in inactivating SARS-CoV-2 after 60 seconds of exposure time. So this bottle is just about 1%, and it's easy to spray in and swallow a little bit. And it's probably, I'm still experimenting, it's new for me, but the study is very impressive. Sometimes I lay backward on the bed and squirt it in the nostrils. Maybe I'll find a dropper to do it sometime in another way, but to have it in the nose as well as in the throat, I mean, it's amazing, 60 seconds. So if I've been out in a crowd and I've got this in the car, I'm coming home, it's easy to use this as well. We do a lot of sandy cleaning of the hands, and this is one up on that even better for preventing the virus. So, you know, if you start to experience any of the COVID symptoms, be it a sore throat, fever, cough, tiredness, loss of taste or smell, shortness of breath or difficulty of breathing, runny nose or headache, pay attention, because you're not going to get all of these at once. But when you get several, it's time to act. For me, my COVID was kind of a surprise. You know, I wasn't typically sick right away, as you would imagine, because I had something going on before that. For about 3 weeks, I have just felt washed out, and I lacked energy. My wife was encouraging me to see the doctor and kind of find out what's going on. Finally, I was persuaded, but I didn't have any COVID symptoms other than fatigue, and who knows where that came from. After all, I thought about it, and I thought, well, you know, I've had a very active summer. Maybe I've been too long in the hot sun with the garden and the property upkeep. So I slowed down, but I still didn't seem to recover and get the energy. Okay, so I went to the doctor. They meet you in the parking lot. They have to do a COVID test before they let you in the office. That's okay. I don't have COVID. Well, that was a surprise. I did. So looking back, how long had I had it? No, not 3 weeks. That wasn't COVID. That was something else. I don't know the combination yet. I was at a funeral and mingling with a number of people about 3 or 4 days before I tested positive. I think that's probably where it came from. Well, many physicians, when they meet you, they don't know what else to do at this stage, but to send you home. Go home and quarantine, rest, drink plenty of water. And if everything goes bad and your lips turn blue, come to ER. That's not a very good early intervention. Fortunately, my physician was a little bit more proactive. He prescribed what you've probably been hearing something about, the monoclonal antibody infusion, which can start to clear the coronavirus within hours of being infused intravenously. So they ordered it for me. The pharmacy called me, started asking questions because it's in short supply. How long have you had COVID? I said, well, I just got diagnosed, but I've been feeling pretty bad for about 3 weeks. And I was just going to explain to him it was a different kind of 3 weeks. He assumed it was 3 weeks of COVID. He says, you can't have it. You know, it's too late. You've got to get it early. You've got to get it early is the key of what we're talking about tonight. When you know you have COVID, you've got to hit it early. I'll keep mentioning that to you. So I didn't get it. That didn't work out. I knew all the more I needed to use the natural remedies I was familiar with. So what should I do? So typically, most people, once they get symptoms, they spend 2 or 3 precious days confirming that they have COVID. But tragically, while you're doing that, the virus spreads. The cells rapidly multiply. Do you realize that many in 5 to 7 days are having acute respiratory failure? You really can't delay for early intervention. One study estimated that 80% of hospitalizations would be avoided if we practice early intervention. Well, 4 days after I was diagnosed, my wife was diagnosed also. What are we going to do? All right, so she was able to get the monoclonal infusion, but they were so busy she had to wait 4 days to get it. Talk about delay. But we didn't delay. So the first 2 days, we used the Russian steam bath, which you just saw me give Lani a treatment. I aimed for 20 minutes a day. We did it twice a day, morning and afternoon, resting afterwards, and so on. You get a lot of sweating for sure, as we saw. So rest, push your water, and pray. Now, after 2 days of those treatments, that's 4 treatments, 2 a day. The last treatment I was taking, I passed out as I got out. And I thought, I've never passed out before. I don't feel that sick. My nurse daughter in Colorado was talking to us, Dad, you need some electrolytes. I hadn't even thought about that. Sure enough, I got some Pedialyte, but it's not very appetizing, but it gets down. I took a whole quart of it over a day, and then she recommended a glass twice a day. We did that until I felt that that was balanced out again. During this time, I bumped up my vitamin D from the 10,000 to 50,000 international units for several days. Then I went back down to 10,000. We're intervening with COVID, and so we wanted to give it a little bit more push. Remember, early intervention is your key. Well, so I keep a good supply of vitamin D, several levels of international levels, so it depends on when the need is, the NAC, the zinc. When I had the COVID, I went from the 22 milligrams that I normally take to this one that had 50, and several things like that. I had some ivermectin that I had gotten in advance. So for the first 7 days, I took 5 tablets, 3 milligrams a day for those 7 days. My wife, being lighter weighted, she took 4 tabs daily for 7 days. Did it solve the problem? I can't tell you for sure. You know, we're using a number of a variety of interventions, hopefully overlapping and complementary, to try to take care of this and not let it get out of control. When I got COVID, we were ready. Sure, we tried to avoid COVID, by the way. Why? We don't live in a bubble. I know every day I get out of bed or meet someone, I'm at risk. Even though we wear a mask, we do hand washing, we do social distancing. You can't, unless you're just locked up all the time, you're going to be at risk. This is why we say plan, prepare. It could save your own life. My 3rd day of knowing I had COVID, my oxygen saturation levels still remain good, 95, 96. We checked for fever regularly. I had a little elevated fever, but not much. But I did have loss of appetite, and that's unusual. Then taste went away and the ability to smell the food. We shifted after 2 days of the steam cabinet to hydrotherapy to the chest. Why? Well, one, the Russian steam bath does take a lot out from you into sweating. I liked it at the beginning. I felt it would cleanse the body, the tissues from head to foot. But now I want to focus on the chest. We're concerned about the possibility of pneumonia coming along afterwards. And so we started treatments on the chest. You saw Tracy show you how to do those. She used the boiling water and the steam off the stove. What we did, and it's just a little different version of the same goal, we take a heating pad, just because we don't have to keep changing it out from the stove, and put this on the back. We put it on the back to lay on. We take a hand towel, we wet it and wring it out till it's practically dry. But I like the effect of having the heat through it with some moisture. We lay down on that. And then with the chest bare, we go ahead and use a thermophore, which is electric. And it gets very warm. And we can use that instead of the steamy one out of the microwave or off the stove. And so it's a little less intensive. These are about probably $75 each. So if you don't want to invest in that, don't happen to have one, Tracy showed us how to do it otherwise. So that's a little bit on how we did our treatment. So we would do, this stays on the back the whole time. We would do 3 of these for about 5 minutes each, followed by wiping yourself down with cold ice water for the revulsive part of it, and to close the pores and go back to heat and end with cold. That's our strategy. Twice a day. For about 2 weeks, we used these treatments. We never got short of breath. We never got in a crisis. So after 1 week of doing these fomentations on the chest twice a day, and we were gradually seeing some improvement, we went down to once a day. And instead, we get up in the morning and do the hot and cold shower. 1 minute, as hot as we could stand, 30 seconds cold all around the body, turn back on the hot water, and do that 3 times, ending with cold. It's very refreshing. And you just have to own it and do it. But the results are very helpful. That was easier. We could cut down from 2 of these treatments to 1 in the shower and this one. We also were blessed that we have several daughters. Between 2 of them, they spent 2 weeks with us when we were the sickest. I don't know what we would have done to treat each other when we were both sick. So the Lord provided, and that was a blessing. 11 days after I was diagnosed August 16. So about the 27th, I felt some improvement. I want to find out though, if I maybe had developed pneumonia. I went down to Fast Pace here in town and I asked for an x-ray. Sure enough, the diagnosis was residual COVID-19 pneumonia. It wasn't a very advanced one, it wasn't major, but it shouldn't be ignored. And it's very typical this happens. They prescribed a Z-Pak. It's a very common antibody that focuses on the bacteria associated with pneumonia. You take it for 5 days. They also prescribed a steroid, prednisone, also for 5 days to help with breathing problems. I wasn't really having a breathing problem, but I took the prednisone anyway and found that it gave me a little bit more freedom and seemed like a little bit more pep. And you're always looking for that during this particular time. Well, overall, I lost about 10 pounds. I didn't have an appetite, but I didn't have the breathing issue. Those hot, moist treatments 2 times a day, I believe, kept the virus from multiplying. I remember after 10 days, I was feeling a little better. I was sitting on the couch and I wondered to myself, I feel better, but will I ever feel normal again? It just seemed like it's elusive. You just wonder, this isn't me. Fortunately, about a week later, I started to feel like me, and that was encouraging. Appetite returned. I couldn't wait for meals. I knew I was getting better. My energy levels, well, they still weren't there. I get energy in the morning, but it didn't last long. You got to just take it slow. Everybody says take it slow, and you do. But it passes. Then the 4th week came. Energy began to come back. By the end of the 4th week, I could say to my wife, I think I feel back to normal. And I tested it by doing different things and found that I was covering it very well. My wife was a few days behind me because she got it afterwards. She's also returned to normal and has been staying steady. And we, every day, thank the Lord for carrying us through this, giving us some good natural immunity, and give him credit for helping us. We prayed before every treatment. You know, you don't live in a bubble either. Please remember, prepare ahead of time. Be taking things now at a reasonable level and prevent this thing from carrying away. Early intervention saves lives, and you won't have to go to the hospital. So we have these vitamins and supplements. By the way, in our information that you'll find on Living Naturally Today, the information of this booklet is available there. You can download a PDF version of the quick reference chart with the different vitamins and minerals that we're using. And then the rest of the book explains them in detail for you for prevention. The last half of the book deals with what you could do if you got sick. So that's available at Living Naturally Today. Next, know your symptoms. If you get several, you have nothing to lose with starting treatment. You can confirm it afterwards, but don't wait. Most important of all, ask God to bless your efforts. I like this statement from the Bible, 3 John 2. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. God bless you.